break the rules? How and why?
Breaking the rules is, we walk into parenting based on our education as how our parents parented us and how we see other people parenting around us. That's it. I mean, it's not like we've been encouraged since birth on how to be a parent, how to have a relationship, how to maintain our intimacy, how to handle conflict. I mean, we just don't have programs that do that for, this long time.
What rules do we break?
Well, the rules that we need to break are, for example, having a dad, leave his work early and go take your son out of school and go take him to lunch. I mean, how many dads do that? I mean, none. And so that is one of the greatest rules that I tell my parents to break. Is far better for us not to be worrying so much about school right now, because if your son is connecting, would he be performing better? If your son is connected better with you and communicating better with you because you're modeling that to them, would your son maybe stop using drugs?
We just ran out of time. Number one thing the dads do wrong, in your opinion?
Not show up. I mean, just not know how to be present in their son's life and find a way to connect with them verbally, emotionally, physically. I mean, they just don't know how to do it. It freaks them out.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
John. Well, to get the book, call your number on your screen. And again, you can get that 10% discount for John Davis's book right now if you call the publisher. Up next, though, we're going to give John, Tim, and Ren a little break. But if you love to watch birds from your kitchen window, stay tuned for the bird feeding expert who will show you how to attract the most beautiful flock to your yard. And then later in the show, we're going to read your emails and bring the guys back. Well, John Davis calls the boys he has counseled his surrogate kids. In all, he has 150 boys who fit that title. He's helped many of them overcome drug and alcohol addiction, issues with depression, anxiety, anger, and he offers hope when no one else does. And we're back with John Davis, author of Extreme Pursuit and founder of the Two Extreme Foundation, along with two young men he's counseled, Tim and Ren. Thanks, guys, for sticking around to answer some of our questions that some viewers have emailed us about. And do you want to get right into it?
Yep, let's go ahead. This is a good one because I know in your book you say something about what's the deal with sex. Here's a question. He says, this viewer says, do you get any sexually troubled children? That's the problem his son is having.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have young guys who experiment with pornography and then also sexually acting out. So my big thing to parents is I want to make sure that they understand that if we shame them and we make them feel guilty and cause grief for them, it causes a kid to actually go underground and then and be more secretive. That is the biggest difficult thing that I have to deal with is the secrecy that comes because of pornography. So if we can draw them out and not focus on the sexual explicitness, but actually what the pornography or what the sexual acting out is actually doing for your teenage son, you'll actually find a way to connect with him and he might share some information. As long as you don't make him feel bad, for where he's at.
What about the signs? B asked, what are the signs that the kids are going in a certain direction that isn't good?
Sure, I think it's really important quickly for parents to know that just because I'm going to list a few of these, and then you can see some of them on my website as well, we're going to make sure that when your son is actually crossing over that line, that's where we need to be really concerned because we don't want everybody to go into this, panic. But isolation, withdrawal, depressive symptoms, anger, and acting out, but stuff that actually crosses the line, I understand that when kids are at home, they feel safe with you and they feel safe in that environment to be able to be free to act out and be angry and frustrated and verbal. But when they cross that line and they do it at school or they do it in public, that's when we really need to pay attention. But still, even at home, we need to give them better tools to say, that's not an appropriate way to communicate. Let's work on this.
And what is sign B? This person says, my college student has just got his third underage drinking ticket.
Right.
What do I do? Is that a sign?
Yeah, of course. I mean, a 20-year-old who's got 3, minor in possession tickets or consumption tickets is a young man who's pushing the limits and willing to push the limits. My thing is that young man has to assume all the responsibility for his poor choices, just like Ren did, just like I did, just like Tim did. But a parent can't rescue. I mean, a parent needs to offer, I am here, I will offer you whatever support that you need. But really, you're on your own on this unless you're going to ask for help. We cannot do all the work for our kids. Otherwise, our kids will never do the work for themselves.
This email is, my teenage son is a cutter. How do I address his inability to deal with his emotions in a more healthy way?
The problem with cutting is that cutting actually, sends out some neurochemicals that actually relieves tension, relieves anxiety, and relieves stress. So when a guy goes and slices his arm open, it actually feels good to him. A parent can't understand that unless they've experienced that. So we need to focus on what he receives from the cutting, not on the act itself. And I think that's one of the tips that a parent needs to know is that don't focus on the drama. focus on what is the true core issue. The core issue is he doesn't know how to problem solve. So how is the cutting actually helping you? What does it relieve for tension for you? Asking some really good questions that penetrates your son's heart that says, my mom is interested.
Go ahead.
One person has trouble with lecturing. She feels like she's always lecturing her son, and she knows that's a problem. And you talk about toxic parenting. There's
Right.
some things that we're doing as parents that can be toxic, like
Right.
what?
Well, the lecturing, number one, because it's going on and on and on, moralizing and making it our agenda again that, well, if I was in your shoes, I certainly wouldn't be doing this. Do you think your son cares about what you would or wouldn't be doing? Because it's his life, it's his story, it's his drama, and that's
Ren,
what
you
sets...
smiled a little bit. Was that what didn't work for you guys when talking to a parent or an adult that you just tuned out?
Well, they lectured. It was just on and constant, and I didn't receive that. I wasn't receptive.
You didn't even
to
think
that.
about it.
No,
You didn't even
not at
think
all.
about what they were even trying to say.
Not at all.
Same with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just,
Well, it shuts them down. I mean, rather than feeling like they have somebody that they can talk to, they're done. I mean, so you've got that short window.
90
Lecturing,
seconds.
yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
And really, if a mom spends too much time, the one who sent the email, thanks for that. If she spends too much time doing that, then use a note card and write down just the 3 points that you want to get off your chest. And then give him the note card and say, this is up to you, but I'm frustrated, I'm scared, this freaks me out, I don't know where to go. Far better for you to say, I don't know what to do with this, than for you to go on and on and on about the same, concept, that then your son is not interested.
Catherine's a school counselor. She says, what advice can you share with schools to make the greatest and longest lasting impact for these kids?
That's a tough one. Schools have so many liability issues because they are not really technically allowed to refer to therapists unless the school then has to pay for it. At the same time, I don't know. The big thing for me with schools is that if schools can incorporate people in the outside community who are interested in connecting with those kids that are struggling, that'd be a great place to start. The second is anting up and having our teachers focus a little bit more on more therapeutic issues in the classroom, which is tough because we're taking away from the learning curve. But if we had stuff that was going on and somebody, was making some poor choices of the weekend, far better for a teacher to stop the class for a minute and say, how's everybody doing with this? I mean, if we actually just slowed things down for just a minute, we're talking a minute or two, it opens the door for a kid to come and talk to the teacher.
And learn better.
And learn.
Really quick, we're almost out of time. John, a lot of people are going to see you here. They're going to want you to talk to their kid. They're going to want to hire you to treat their kid. What can you tell people if they're looking for a counselor? How can they find a therapist
Great
who's going to
question.
turn lives around like Ren's?
Because you're
like
in Denver.
Tim's?
Right.
15 seconds.
Yeah, great question. Really what I say is that people need to be invested in their local community. So start asking anybody and everybody who knows teenagers, pediatricians, psychiatrists, school counselors, pastors of churches, youth pastors. I mean, find a way to find someone. There is somebody in your area who can do it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. We'll be right back.
And don't forget, this is the book, Extreme Pursuit. We've been talking to John Davis, the author, all day. You can get more information on toextreme.info.
And we want to thank you guys so much for being here,
Thank
for being
you.
so brave to share your stories. You were awesome.